Hey guys, welcome to this course. In this course, I'm going to show you how to create DJ mixtapes and radio shows with Ableton Live. This is perfect for you who want to create DJ mixtapes or a podcast with a DJ mixtape. And this is also great for you who want to create a pre-made DJ set within Ableton. So first, we're going to cover how Ableton Live works. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the Ableton Live's interface. I'm also going to show you how to find good quality MP3 files. And then we're going to cover different warping modes. We're going to cover clip envelopes in Ableton, EQ and filtering. We're also going to take a look at the different dynamic and reverbs plugins as well to create very nice and precise transitions from one song to another song. You will have all of these songs perfectly beat matched. And you can do that by just some clicks in Ableton. It's a very, very easy and nice way to create a beat match between two different songs. In this course, I'm going to show you how to create a full DJ mixtape, which is in the electronic dance music genre, but you can use all of different kinds of music with the same concept. So if you're creating a hip-hop mixtape, let's say, or if you create electronic dance music or some other kind of loop-based music that has one beat or different beats in it, this is a perfect way to create a DJ mixtape as well. We're also going to cover how to choose different MP3 files, where to get different voiceovers from. So let's say that you have a microphone and you want to speak with your audience. I will show you how you do that, but you can also outsource different voiceovers. So if you want to have some kind of voice that is talking instead of you talking, or if you want some voiceover that is backing you up with different sound effects or presenting your DJ name, for instance, I will show you where you can get people that actually works with voiceover that will create that kind of effects for you for very little money. After that, we're going to create a full mixtape. So I'm going to take you through the process from choosing MP3 files to laying them out in Ableton, warping them up, choosing different BPM tempos. We're going to slow down the tempo within the mixtape. We're also going to speed it up as well. And then we're going to export the whole mixtape to one audio file, and we're going to upload it as well. Really hope to see you in the course. All right, let's take a look at warping in Ableton. So let's say that we have a drum loop like this. So I'm gonna drag this drum loop in here to an audio track. And let's take a look at it like this. All right, I'm zooming in a bit here like this. Now I'm gonna cycle this drum loop here. So I'm going to choose the cycle on here. And you can see that the tempo here is 100 BPM. And I think this drum loop is, its original tempo is at around, 124 BPM. So let's take this to 124, like this. So we can choose whatever tempo we want here. We can go crazy and do it very, very slow. It would start to sound a little bit strange, but this is not the regular tempo you want in your music. So let's go for around let's say 200. And as you can see, it's matching the tempo all the time and it sounds pretty good there. So I'm gonna go with 124 here. And as you can see, if you double click the drum loop there, then you're gonna see this audio editor here. So as you can see here, you have some different markers set on all of your transients here. So wherever Ableton detects transient here, then it's gonna put a suggestion for you if you want to create that transient and move it, for instance. So if you want to be, say we can zoom here, and if I double click here, it's gonna go back to its original suggestion. So as you can see, Ableton suggests that this beat starts around there, or even there, because the transient starts there. And you can tell that the transients is more of in this section here, somewhere around here. But for deep house, for instance, you want some kind of bit of a very, very short swing here. So that is why the transient starts here. You can see it's a little sound before the actual big hit around here, but it's so small in time, so you wouldn't even notice it. But you can do it like this and move the transient to around here. Let's see. You can get rid of that and move the transient. So you can do that for, yeah, for every single transient in your drum loop. And adjust like that. You can hear it sounds a bit strange here now. So I'm gonna double click all of the adjustments I did here and just get rid of them like this. But that is basically the warping in Ableton. You can do some different stuff with warping, but this is the most basic stuff to do warping, and this is the best way to do warping in Ableton. And let's say that we want to move, let's say that we want to move this here. So if we move this one, you can see that all of our loop is changing their transients as well. So if we move this one, now it's not gonna make sense at all, this drum loop here. Yeah. And now if we hold Command or on Mac, you can get these, can you see that? 3 different markers around that. So I'm holding Command and just pressing this one here. And now I can move just this transient, and those 2 around that will be adjusted in time, as you can see. So let's say that I'm gonna move this transient to here. So I can choose, I can basically move the whole groove here. Let's say that I put this transient on here. Let's listen to this now. Can you hear that? Let's say that I want to do the same thing here. Very easy to do in Ableton, and you can play around with the warping a lot here. And one more thing you need to know about warping is the different warp modes. So as you can see, there is beats, tones, texture, repitch, complex, and complex pro. So what are all of these warp modes? What are they meaning? The first one is beats mode. And as you can see, it's for rhythmic audio. So if you have a drum loop, for instance, the beats mode will be the best one here. Then you have tones mode, which is for clearly pitched audio. So if you have, let's say, something that you can't really hear the melodic in it, like say a piano sound, then you would have to have the tones mode on. Then you have texture mode, and that is for polyphonic or noisy sounds. Repitch mode stretches by adjusting pitch, as with a record. And complex pro mode for whole songs and complex audio. So if you don't see really good results with all of those, with all of these here, from beats to repitch, then you can try complex and complex pro. And the main difference between these ones here is that Complex Pro will use more CPU power, so it would be a lot better than just regular Complex here. But these different warp modes are there for instance, sometimes if you're doing a lot of different warping here and have a lot of different markers in this section here, then the audio would start to lose their quality. So if you have a very complex audio and you're doing a lot of warping work here, then let's say that you have tones on, then it would not sound really good. But if you choose Complex Pro, that will sound a lot better. So you can try those out, and yeah, it's just a matter of experimenting with the different modes. But if you're doing drum loops, you definitely want to have it on beats. Alright, so it's time to create one full mixtape from scratch. So now I have a new live set. So you go to new live set there and you will get a new project without any plugins in there or any sounds at all. So first we're starting with the session view, but I'm going to go with the arrangement view. So we're here. I'm going to delete these two MIDI tracks here. So just delete like that. So we only have two audio tracks here. I'm going to go to my iTunes here and I have some tracks that I want to use with this mixtape. So I'm going to have the first track, and the first track is going to be this track. So I'm going to press the little cloud here to download it to my iTunes or to my computer locally. And now as soon as it doesn't have this cloud icon here, it's good to go. And I'm going to also download this track. So I'm going to have it on my computer. Same thing goes with all of the tracks that I'm going to use. So I'm going to use that track. Let's see, this one. All of those tracks I think I'm going to use. So just leave it like that. And now you can see all of the downloads here as well. So I'm going to drag in this first track here to Ableton. Just going to analyze it. And now it's done there. So sometimes you can see this track here doesn't contain any audio information. You can't see the waveform here. So if you have it like that, you just go and right click that track and activate clip. And now you can see it's there. So there is some cases that when Ableton can't detect the track for some reason, so you just go to activate clip. And now you can see it says deactivate clip, so it's already in there. That's why. Okay, so we're also going to go with the master here. Just click the master and put some different effects as we did in the previous video. So I'm going to choose a compressor first, just leave it like that, as well as a limiter and leave it like that as well. I'm also going to lower these tracks to around, let's say, -4 here. So I'm going to do it the same thing with the second one here. And let's just play it and take a listen to it. All right, so it's too slow. I'm going to use 126 for the whole mixtape. Just like that. Now we're gonna double click this. I'm going to use Complex Pro. And I'm going to see if the warp markers are there, and it looks like that. It looks like the kick drum is on the grid here, as you can see. It looks like Ableton did a great job. Let's see if it's actually good here. I think it isn't. Let's see, somewhere around here maybe. Yeah, you can see it's a bit off. You can see you just have to look at the loudest point. Going to take it somewhere around in the middle here and just take a look at the waveform a bit. And you can see it's pretty hard to see where the kick drum is hitting here. So I'm going to play the track somewhere around here. There's a kick drum, for instance. So I'm going to take this here, to create a point by double clicking it and dragging it to there. And from here, I'm going to right click and warp from here, start at 126 BPM. So now it should warp the track here as well, but it isn't. It's still a bit off grid here, as you can see. For instance, this one should be there. And you can do it like I did here, and it should be should sound good. And the most important place where you should have the track warped and on grid here, that should be at the end of the track, because there is where we're going to beat match the tracks. So it's not really as important like to have the track being on grid here in the middle as it is in the at the end of the track, and also at the beginning of the track when you're doing transitions from a track to another track. Let's get back to the arrangement here, and I'm going to play this track here. I'm actually looking for the end part where we're going to create our beat match with the other track. And you should look for a part where you feel that the track is getting to an end, so it starts to losing elements. So let's say that some drum loops are dropped or a main synth is going away, then you know that the track is starting to ending. So here is still a drop. So here is actually the ending point of this track. So you can really hear it. If you take a listen to where I'm going to start the track, and just take a listen to when it hits to 120 to bar 128 here, or 121 here. So here is a perfect place where you can start the next track. So let's go back to iTunes. I'm going to use this track here, just import it like that. It's going to analyze it, just like that. All right, so I'm going to double click it, and as you can see, Ableton created a lot of different warp markers here, and it does that for some tracks where it can't really detect the kick drums properly. So as I said before, the only important place where we want the track to be on grid here is actually in the beginning and at the end, as I said before. So this one, I think Ableton did a very poor job here, since it thinks that this kick is the kick drum and this one is kick drum, but I think it's this one actually. Let's take a listen to it and see. All right, I'm going to solo it. And it's because it's starting with a slow beat here. So I think I'm going to start this track here instead of starting it here, because this track starts with a very slow beat. So that is why Ableton is really confused here. It actually starts at, I think it starts at around 112 BPM, as you can see here, but I think the track is actually in 128 BPM. So for this case, I'm going to take it wherever it starts, or wherever I want it to start. So there. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to set 111 here. And now you can see it starts from this point instead. And I'm also going to right click this and warp from here, start at 126 BPM. So let's see if this actually sounds good or not. All right, that. So you can hear it's not beat matched at all. So let's go back here and choose warp from here straight instead. Now you can see all of the warp markers are gone here. So let's take a listen to it now instead. Alright, so it's a mess. It sounds like it's too much there. So I'm going to move it to the next place in this first track, where we start to lose a lot of different elements here. So here's almost just a kick drum and the trumpet sound. So I'm going to move it to here instead. Still not really beat matched here, I think. So I'm going to take the first kick drum that I can find here. Let's see if this is a kick drum. So let's solo this track again. Solo. This is actually a very hard track to mix here, and I chose this because this is not just a track where it starts with a kick drum and ends with a kick drum basically. This starts with different elements that is slower and other stuff like that. So that is why I'm showing this really hard track. As you can see, this one is a kick drum. So let's move it a bit like that. Let's see here as well. I think this is the kick drum, so let's move that. And also we want this to be complex pro, very important. So now it would sound good even if we mess around a lot with the different warp markers. So I'm going to take this one and warp from here straight again. So all of the other transient here should move a bit. I think this one didn't. Let's move it a bit, and one more time, warp from here straight. Let's see now. So we're not going to start the other track just suddenly like that. We want some kind of fade in here, since it's not starting with a basic kick drum and a basic bass or beat. So we want to have some filter or something that just fades this track in a bit and make it full when this track drops. So I'm going to use the auto filter for that. So make sure that you have this track on, auto filter. And now you can filter the track like that. So let's see. Yeah, just like that. So I'm going to put automation on. And as soon as I move this knob, it should be here. So now we just do it like that and like that. So I want it to be fully opened when this track drops. I'm also going to do a bit of a curve there. And I'm also going to take this track here and create some kind of reverb. So this just not stops suddenly as well here. I just want this to fade a bit when it's ending as well. So I'm going to put a reverb and automate that dry wet signal as well. I'm going to make a bigger curve here. And let's take a listen to this now. One more thing, I also want to have an EQ here just to take off the bass. Since it's going to have double basses when this filter is opening up here around this area. So I'm going to take, let's see, an EQ3 and just a gain low here and just drop it like that. So let's take a look at the waveform here at the end. And let's just detect some endpoint where we can take the next track and blend it in here. So this one is a tough one as well at the endpoint here, since it just it doesn't drop any elements, it just suddenly stops like that. So I'm going to take the, let's see, 4 bars here, or yeah, let's see, 4 bars. It should be the 4 last bars, or 8 bars. That is a good measure to have there. I'm going to go back to iTunes, and I'm going to take my 3rd track, put it on this audio track. Let's see here. And we can visually see where this track has a start and when it drops some elements there. So you can see it's something is going on here, and this is ending here as well at bar 195. And now we have the EQ3 gain low, so low end is dropped because we dropped it with this track here. So you can see it's dropped. And I want the bass to be dropped, and it can go up to around 0 when this track drops. Like that. And we also have something else going on here. So we have the reverb. Dry wet is on full, so we can't really hear that track. So let's lower the reverb to 0 when this starts. And then you can hear that the kick drum is not exactly there in sync. So same thing goes here, Complex Pro, and just take a look at the kick drum here. And this looks very tight here. You can see that all of the kick drums are really aligned with the grid here. So I'm not going to do anything with this one. I think it's still this track here. So let's go to the end part. And you can see it's still a little bit off grid. So we just want to move it like that. And warp from here straight. Yeah, you can hear it's very in sync here, but it's going out of sync there. So we still have to work with the warp markers with this track here. So let's try something else here. Let's take this one and warp from here, start at 126 instead. Let's see if the kick drums are aligning here. All right, let's go back here. And that track sounded it just like it suddenly stopped, and we got a lot of quiet elements here. I like when it's full on when this track is ending. So I'm going to move this track here. I'm also have to move the reverb as well, the reverb automation. So now I'm going to, let's say we have it here, so we want to move it 4 bars like that. But I think that will actually be too much. You can see it's a lot of things starting here, and this track is ending there. So let's see here, maybe somewhere around there. You can see it starts a lot here. Just just take a listen to it, and it's better to hear with the ears, you know. That was perfect. We can also move it to this part here, but I think this will be too much. But let's try that. So to there. So I'm going to take this part and drop it here. And I think it's too much, a bit too much here, so I'm going to go to the EQ3. I'm going to take the gain low and move it to there. So we don't want any low end appearing in this track, but we want to have it, the low end, to kick in when this track ends. We also want to take off the high end as well, or at least a bit of it. So now as soon as I move this knob, you can see this automation lane here, and just take it up to around 0 when this track kicks in. That sounds a lot better, in my opinion at least. And I want to resize this because I think the kick drum from this track is coming in too early here. Yeah, we can move it to this drop section in this track. Actually, we can move it to this drop ends. Very good. All right, let's take the next track here. Going to iTunes. We can also play them in iTunes as well. So all of these tracks sounds very similar, and this is because I'm doing a mixtape that has the same style, you know. All right, so I'm going to use Complex Pro, and let's see if this track is aligned with the grid. This looks good, and as you can see, they are these transients here are very, you can really see them. So Ableton is, yeah, doesn't have any problem to detect the right warp markers here as well. So I think that's pretty much good to go. And you can also see in this track here when the second or the last drop is kicking in and where it starts to lose element as well. Yeah, that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have the track here and I'm going to take, let's see, I'm going to put an EQ here, EQ3 on this track, take away the gain low. And I'm creating a, let's see here. I don't want the bass to be dropped in this track. So I want to create a marker here around 0 and then drop it to this track here and this track starts. So now we don't have any bass in this track. You can hear the beat matching arp. It's pretty good, but I think it's not that tight. So since we looked at this track and it looked very tight with the kick drum here and the transients, I think the ending of this track is a bit off here. So let's take a look at it. And you can see it's very subtle. So I'm going to take this one here and just move it like that and warp from here straight. We're going to have to do it at 189 bars there. So let's see, one. Or 119 actually. And this looks very, very tight. So I think maybe it won't do any difference here. Let's see. Sounds very nice. I'm going to take the bass back in this track. And if we take the bass back on this track, we want to drop the bass from this track. So gain low here. I'm going to do the same thing and just drop it like that. I'm going to put some delay on this track here, just to have it some movement in the transitional element here. So in this part, when we transition from one track to another, we want some movement, something else here, I think. So I'm going to have a delay. I'm going to take the ping pong delay, have it on this track here, like that. Take the dry wet signal to 0. And then I'm going to make it like that, take a curve, and let's take a listen to. It can sound strange, it can sound too much as well, so we're going to see what we come up with here. When this because the drops here, but there is a voice in this part and we want it to be, we only want this to be heard there, so we want to drop the delay here as well, like that. So here it's going to be silence and just the voice hitting here. You can hear that when I play here. Just like that. That sounded really great in my opinion. So I'm going to move on to the next track. So let's go to iTunes. And I'm going to take something else. I'm going to take the DJ Snake, You Know You Like It. And it's slower. So let's see if this is going to sound good. So it's analyzing the track. Clip deactivated. So I'm going to do the same thing. Activate clip. And now we have the waveform here. So let's double click it and see how this looks here. All right. So I'm going to move it a bit and just take a listen to it.
Some people want me to be heads or tails. I say no way, try again another day. I should be happy, not tipping the scale.
Yeah, and we also have the low end dropped here, so I'm going to take it back to 0, around 0.
People want me to be heads or tails. I know for now.
I think this track sounds too fast because I think this track is originally in 100 BPM or something like that. And we're at 126 here. So I'm going to automate the tempo, overall tempo of the project. So show automation. And now you can see here in the master, you have automation for the project tempo. So we're going to use that as soon as we detect the where we can transition from this track to the next one here. I think it can be too boring if we listen to the whole ending section of this track and then we drop this You Know You Like It track. I think we can drop it somewhere else. Maybe take it in this part. And I'm just doing this by taking a look at the waveform here. So as soon as you can see something drops here, then you know that you can take another track and put it there to transition it.
Some people want me to be heads.
I think that could be great, actually. So I'm going to take the tempo and automate the tempo from 126 here to maybe 94.
Some people want me to be heads or.
And we don't want this track to just end like that. So I'm going to take a reverb with this track. Like that. Automate the dry wet here. And automate it a lot. So we almost want this track to disappear when she starts singing in this part here.
Some people want me to be heads or tails.
I think it's too slow now, so let's back it a bit. And I think we're going to use delay here as well. So I'm going to use an echo here. And you can use different delay plugins. I mean, echo and ping pong delay or simple delay is actually pretty good as well. And just for the simplicity here, I'm going to use the simple delay instead of the echo plugin, since the echo plugin is a premium plugin in Ableton. So I'm going to use the simple delay and just have the dry wet signal here. And let's take a look here. All right, in this track, I actually put it in the master track since we had that selected. So let's delete that. Let's go back to this track. Put a simple delay and back off with a dry wet signal. Something like that. Let's try it out now.
Some people.
All right, so the delay is having a little bit of a tail there. So let's take this one and just take it back so it's now off when she starts to sing there. We also want to do the same thing with the reverb. Like that. And what we want to do as well is to take off the low end here. Like that.
Some people want me to be heads or tails. I say no way, try it.
Sure, that sounds okay. I think I'm gonna leave it like that. And we want to double click here and press Complex Pro. And that will make this track sound a bit better.
Some people want me to be heads or tails. I say no way, try again another day. I should be happy, not tipping the scales. I just won't play, letting my life get away. I know full well, I'm not a follower. I don't take it, drives you insane. You know you like it, but
now I'm looking for a point where I want to switch to something else. I think mixtapes should have a bit of, let's say, a part of the mixtape where you want to break it with something else. So we was using progressive house with this 4 tracks and they sounded pretty similar, but then I want something else to drop in here, but just in a bit, just like a minute or something like that, and then we want to go back to the other tracks or something else if you want to. That's the nice part about creating mixtapes. You can do whatever you want here basically. But I'm going to take this DJ Snake part and just make a short part of it. So the first drop, and then we're going to go back to the progressive house.
I'm not a follower. I don't take what you want to feel the same. You know you like if you want.
So to that part, I think. So let's just resize this. Like that. And now we want to have a drop from another progressive house track. So I'm going to choose something else. Let's say this one. This track is very cool. And this is very much progressive house. So let's see. And I mean, I'm doing progressive house right now, but you can do hip hop or you can do whatever music style. It's the same thing here. It's basically just beat matching and creating different effects to blend the tracks together. So just double click this and the drop starts here. So I'm going to take a look at this part here. You can see it's a bit off the grid, so I'm going to move it like that, and the warp from here start at 106, or straight like that instead, because we're going to change the tempo back to a quicker tempo. So just take it back like that, and now we want the drop to be there basically. It may be that this would sound better if we have something that prepares the audience for this track. So I think we're going to, the low end is backed off there, and just put it to, not to maximum, but to 0. Alright, so that is not the drop section. So let's, I think the drop section is there. Like that. So let's take the low end to there as well. Yeah, and here I'm going to automate the tempo. So let's go to the tempo here, show automation. And now I want to create a little bit of a curve with the tempo. So let's go back to 126. So now it's going to gradually be faster and faster, faster until this track drops. Alright, so this has some beginning with the voice here, so I'm going to take where that voice starts instead. Yeah. I think that was a pretty nice transition. Let's take a listen to it again.
I just wanna have some fun. Don't tell me what could be done. You know you like it, but it drives you insane. You know you like it, but it drives you insane. You know you like it, but you're scared of the shame. What you want, what you gonna do? You know you like it, but it drives you insane. Only because you know that you wanna feel the same. You know you like it, but it drives you insane. What you want, what you gonna do?
I'm also going to take an auto filter here because it's just come up from nowhere, this track. So just to make the audience prepare that we have something that's coming up here. So let's take a listen to it again. So we want it to start a bit here. We want to hear that something is starting here. Nice. That is what we want. And I don't know why this part is there, but I'm going to delete it. Alright, so I'm going to use one more track, and I think we're done with the mixtape after that. So let's see what we have here. I'm going to choose maybe something else. Let's end it with this track. Let's just take a listen to it. So this is almost like deep house. So activate clip and take it to somewhere around here, and let's just see where we can put this track. Yeah, so I'm going to have the track starting at 533, and let's see here. Yeah, the gain low is dropped as well. So let's see how this sounds. So I'm going to drop this track when this sound hits in here. Let's take a listen where it actually appears. Great. So that is exactly what I want in here. So I'm going to take the low end back as soon as this track ends. And then we also want some kind of reverb to just wash it out, you know, the sound just wash out like to nowhere, you know. So let's take a listen. So double click it, Complex Pro, and back to the track. Awesome. So I think we're done with this mixtape. It's pretty short, and you can see the minutes here, the minute marks in Ableton is there. So you can see it's around 20 minutes or something like that. But it's the same concept all of the time. You beat match it, you can experiment a lot here, since this is, you're doing it on beforehand, you know. So you're not doing it live as you would do with a DJ, like a DJ mixer. So you can actually experiment a lot here and not be afraid, you know, of screwing up the whole mix. So I'm going to just play the different transitional elements here, just so you can see what we have done with this mixtape. So as you can see, there's the first mistake, and this is the gain high that we did here, and it's lowered there. So I'm going to make it back to 0 here, and we only want the effect to appear on that particular track. So you can take a look at the different automations that you have done and see if that appears for the selected track. But the best thing here is to just play back the whole mixtape and see where we did something, something wrong.
Watch out, we have a killer sound boy now.
Actually do an auto filter there, since it actually hits from nowhere here in the beginning. That can be too much, I think. So let's put an auto filter here. We don't have that at this track, so let's move this knob frequency here and just back it off a bit here.
Some people want me to be heads or tails. I say no way, try again another day. I should be the same, only because you know that you wanna feel the same. You know you like it, but try to be the same.
What you want, what you want. On your mark, you better get set.
Okay, I think that sounds really nice. All of the different transitional parts we did here, it sounds great. I think it sounds really good. So I think you got a bit of a look at how you actually create a mixtape from scratch, you know, and this was the whole purpose of this course as well. So before we end this course, I'm going to export this mixtape. So we go to File, Export Audio Video. And now we want to render track master. We also set render start, so you always want to start it at 111 if you set the first track at the beginning here. And the render length will be 669 bars, which is somewhere around the end here. But you can actually take a look at it. So if you cancel it, you can just go to the section where it ends. And you can see it actually ends at 669 there. But if you want some kind of, let's say there is some reverb here or something going on, so you can actually, just to be safe here, you can end it at 671 instead. So File, Export Audio Video, and then let's say 671, like that. You can also set it to 11 there as well. All right, so now we don't want to normalize, convert to mono, or render as loop. We can create an analysis file if you want to. It's not necessary, so I'm going to put it off. And then you can choose wave or AIF as well. I'm going to choose wave. You can also encode MP3, so let's put that to on. And now just export it. So now let's say we put mixtape, and this is actually May 27, 2018 now. All right, so let's save it. Now it's going to export it, and I'm going to show you the audio file when it's exported. All right, so I'm at my desktop here. As you can see, mixtape, May 2018, MP3 and WAV file. Let's take a listen to the MP3.
Sound boy now.
I've got big dog, know you like try to be the same.
On your mark, you better get set.
I think I got everything there, so I'm very happy with this mixtape, and I hope you learned a lot with doing this, what I did here, and just by watching. And as you can see, we have the little box in the bottom section of the window here where you can see all of the keys that I'm pressing, as well as while I'm clicking my mouse here, you can see a little red circle around it. So just so you can see how I work, and I think that's the best thing for you if you want to learn. It's to just watch another guy doing something that he knows what he's doing, you know. So yeah, I think we're done with the course here, and I really hope to see you in my next courses. I have launched a lot of different courses here, so let's just see you in the next course.